I think all we really need, and it's not a postulate, it's implicit in behavior. I think it's implicit in animal behavior. I was very impressed with that TED Talk by Frans de Waal, where he has the capuchin monkey. It's a great thing. You got to watch it. There's this monkey, and first he's given cucumbers. He's right next door to another monkey whom he can see. He's given cucumbers, perfectly happy with the cucumbers. Then he sees his next door neighbor monkey has gotten grapes. The next time he gets the cucumber, he throws it in the experimenter face. He's outraged.
Rebecca, I just don't see, that's interesting.
Yeah.
I don't see the relevance of it toward trying to fashion any kind of moral philosophy. Animal, you could equally well say, well, look at lions. The male lion sits and eats and fornicates, and he has a pride of female lions that go out and do all the work. Perhaps this feels right to lion. I suppose it does. And there may be good evolutionary reasons why lions behave this way, but it's an example that we would shun. Finding here and there behavior which we sort of recognize as showing animals having some sense of fairness doesn't show us that we should be fair in that sense, or
no, it doesn't. But what it shows is that if animals reach a certain level of consciousness, they have a sense that there's stuff coming to them, and that there's certain emotions that come out of that, which are, of unfairness, etc. And that it seems to me gets normativity into it already. That there is that notion of when a thing is treated a certain way, there was a reason not to treat it that way, and that animal, if it reaches some level of sophistication, especially with language, can actually articulate this. Anybody who's raised children knows at about 2.5 or 3, they're articulating, that's not fair. So that the commitment to oneself very quickly evolves into a notion of there are reasons that I shouldn't be treated this way. And that seems to me to already get normativity, and we can't live our lives without it. It's unavoidable. Those other moral emotions, purity, believe me, you can talk yourself out of it. I have no trouble with pig anymore. Loyalty, group authority, you can talk yourself out of all of that stuff, and I have, right? But this one, that if I think that I matter, and my life is impossible without thinking I matter, I just wouldn't act at all. I wouldn't plan for my future. I wouldn't do anything. If I think I matter, that's already getting normativity onto the page, it seems to me, and then we've got a footing. We can expand on that.
Well, I don't know how you talk yourself out of group loyalty. I have a feeling that it is right to be loyal to your group within limits. Go ahead, talk me out of it. I don't know how you can do that. It is not based on any reasoned judgment that this will make the world a better place. It just seems right to me, and I deny the capability of reason to change my mind about that.
Hold on a second. I think that there is quite a bit of that I agree with about what you said, particularly the criticism of Sam Harris and utilitarianism. Although that has been done very nicely on philosophical grounds, and of course the utilitarians have their own comeback. It gets into a really complicated literature immediately. But for instance, when you said, I think that that I morally owe more loyalty to, let's say, my friends and family and all that. There are ethical frameworks that do fit that kind of view. That's virtue ethics or communitarianism, for instance, which I happen to think it's... virtue ethics and communitarianism are exactly that kind of thing. So moral philosophy, moral reasoning in philosophy is not a way to ground anything on the basis of some kind of bedrock, nor is it a way to provide sort of universal answers, I think, not anymore at least. I mean, philosophers tried that for a while. I think it's a form of reasoning. It's like, okay, there is a large literature on how to think these things through. You do have to start with certain assumptions and axioms that can be questioned, but that's true for everything we do. It's true in science, it's true in mathematics, it's true in logic, so why wouldn't it be true in ethics? And then there are better and worse ways to reason your way through things. So if you want to, for instance, a very good example of how practical moral philosophical reasoning works, I think you can take a look at the last two books by Michael Sandel, who basically eschews all sort of broad talk about, is it utilitarianism that is better or deontology or whatever it is. He just starts each chapter in those books with an actual question and reason his way through possible answers. And ethics becomes a tool to figure out certain things. Yes, there are limits. Now, in answer to your question about what kind of reasoning could possibly make me overcome xenophobia, well, there are attempts there too.
I didn't call it xenophobia.
Right. Yeah, well, so distrust of other groups. I mean, that's the idea. Well, there are reasons there too. There is attempts there too. Peter Singer's concept of an expanding circle is based on the idea that, yes, we start with the local group because that is the natural thing to do. It comes from the fact that we're social primates and all that. But then we think about it and say, well, although I have an instinctual reaction to where somebody looks different from me, if I stop and think about it, which is what philosophical reasoning is supposed to make you do, is I don't have any actual reason to believe that person is, in fact, inferior or dangerous or inherently so. And therefore, why should I treat him differently?
I'm sorry, I don't accept this. I'm not loyal to my family because I think other families are worse or because I distrust them or fear them. I'm loyal to my family because they're my family.
Yes.
And I think that's something I ought to do.
Yes.
Now, as I say, it's not an absolute thing. I would sacrifice some interest of my family for really great welfare of everyone. But I don't see any rational process that tells me how to make those trade-offs.